Amen. DreamWorld. So anyway, so this is Alexander. So Alexander is a local man done well. He went to Wharton High School.
Yes.
He had Wharton, so he's a local man, and started coming to our church about 2 years ago. I met him right there at the front door as he came in. Found out that Alexander played linebacker in high school and basketball.
At one point, basketball in middle school.
Okay, all right. Love sports, absolutely love sports. Well, I met him here at the church, and over the last couple of years, I've gotten to know him very well. He comes to church almost every single week. A lot of times you'll see him come in and go out. And he told me almost about 6 or 9 months ago that he had a new project he wanted to do. And so, of course, if you know me, I'm usually asking lots of questions, And so Alexander went from just being a local high school student, playing sports, and something happened to him, and I don't know whether he's crazy or not, but something on the inside of him said he wanted to go into acting.
Yes.
So tell me, first of all, how did you ever get interested going from playing sports in high school to joining the drama club at school? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so all in all, just like I know we had a conversation about it yesterday, all in all, the one thing when I think about my life, okay, and I think about, when I'm reflecting on everything, I notice the clues, right? We can always study our life. There's always clues that are leading us to a certain direction. We just have to pay attention to them. And so I love sports, okay? I love sports, and that's why I did my best to get in shape for that, and I bulked up in high school. And but again, I wasn't able to play the position that I wanted to play. So once I understood that, I said, okay, well, let me go ahead and leave sports alone. And then I just kept asking myself, what do I really want to do? And then I noticed that, okay, the one common thread, whether it was football, whether it was basketball, the one common thread was that I love to entertain. I said, okay, you love to entertain. You want to become an actor. And ever since then, ever since that moment, I've just been putting all of my focus on it. Doing the best I can to be the greatest that I can possibly be at it. So.
I think being an actor, as glamorous it looks, is a lot harder than people think, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So Alexander went from Wharton High School, moved to New York City, and went to acting school, right?
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about that.
Moving to New York. So I moved to New York in the year 2009. And that was incredible. It was an incredible move for me because, again, I am from Florida, and it was such a monumental transition. This young kid, you're in this big city, and it was exciting. I enjoyed every moment of it. And then going to the acting college, I loved it. I learned some things that I definitely didn't learn in high school. I learned the fundamentals. I didn't want to go to New York because all the greats that I admire, whether it's Denzel Washington, Meryl Streep, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, they all start off on stage. And again, success leaves clues. Like whenever we want to master anything in our craft, we just have to pay attention on what are these people doing. Okay, if I want to do this, I want to be the greatest in this area. Okay, this person did this, they start off on stage. Or if it's any other profession, you just study. Your whole life is a study. You're never done studying until it's your time to go. That's how I feel.
And then you moved from New York City to the big LA, right?
Yes.
And you started getting some acting gigs and some parts, and what happened then?
So LA, when I compare, it's so interesting. So a lot of times people say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, right? Like I'm sure you guys probably are familiar with that phrase at one point or another. And I can attest to it. I would say there's some truth to it, but man, oh man, when I compare the two, I've had my most struggles in Los Angeles without a doubt. I mean, there were definitely some very hard times. I mean, it's just the things that I was dealing with that had nothing to do with acting. And the outside world, they'll never know that. Because they see you out there, and let's say if you're not particularly doing anything at the moment, they don't know what's going on. But again, I can attest to it. What it is that you're, especially out in LA, like what can I say? You're doing your best to survive. You're working a lot of different jobs, and it can make it a challenge to really be able to give your all on whatever it is you came out there to do. So that's what I can say about LA. I was definitely able to do a decent amount of things in LA. I feel like I did more in New York, but I would say LA definitely it molded me. It definitely it made me become stronger in so many ways after all those experiences, and I'm grateful for all of them.
So you're saying you learned how to struggle?
I did. I did.
Has anyone in this room had an easy life? How many of y'all can relate to what he's saying? The struggles of what your dream is going to be.
Yes.
And then you came back to Florida, and that's
Yes.
where we met each other. And
Yes.
you came to church one Sunday, and I immediately, how do you not love Alexander? His smile is, you know, is just contagious. And he came back, and I had a chance to visit you for a little bit. And what a lot of people don't know is that a lot of these dreams that were put in his heart were put in much younger in his life.
Yes.
Tell us about when you accepted Christ into your life, Alexander.
Absolutely. I'm going to say that I accepted Christ in my life in 1997. I've definitely been going to church practically my whole life, but I'm going to say that year because that was the year that I was baptized. And I have to thank my mother for that. I'm sure she's going to watch this video. She definitely instilled those principles. I would say that is the strongest foundation, your spiritual foundation. If you can have a strong spiritual foundation, you know you can overcome anything, no matter what it is. You know, you're just, again, obviously, you know, revisiting the Bible, meditating on certain scriptures. If you have that strong spiritual foundation, nothing can stop you. And yeah, I can honestly say that is exactly why I'm here today. That was how I was able to go through any of the things I went through in New York. That's how I was able to go through any of the things I went through in LA, and how I'm still here, and how I'm able to still have a positive mindset no matter what's going on. I can't control the outside, but I can control the internal. I can't control everything, but I control how I respond to it. I can control the meaning that I give every single situation that happens in my life. And once you understand you have that power, there is nothing that you can do. It doesn't matter what the news is saying. It doesn't matter what anyone is saying. It's like it can't shake you. It can't shake you. It can try. It's up to you if you're going to allow it in. But you don't have to allow it in. You don't have to allow it in. You can give every single situation in your life a different meaning, an empowering meaning. Because if you give it a disempowering meaning, you're not going to make moves. You're not going to take action. You're going to be fearful. Whenever we get fearful, we get stagnant. We're stationary. When we're stationary, that can lead to depression because we're not moving. But the moment we move, right, motion creates emotion. So the more you move, the more you feel. That's how you can conquer depression. You can't be depressed and moving and exercising. It's impossible. That's why I'm always getting up. Let's go. Let's do it. People were asking me, you know, when March, when everything went down, it's like, hey, they're calling me. What are you doing, Alexander? What are you doing? I'm studying. What else are you doing? Working out. Why are you doing that? Why are you not panicking? Why would I panic? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Panic doesn't live here. Anxiety doesn't live here. Fear doesn't live here. Love, praise, joy, glory. God lives in my house. He's the only one that's welcome. Fear, depression, anxiety doesn't live here. It's not welcome. I'm sorry. You can't stay here. You can't stay here. You got to move out.
It's kind of cool, you know, how many all need to hear that message too? Because we can either let the world completely come in and tell us how we're going to feel, how we're going to act, what we're going to think, or we can say, listen, I'm going to take control. And what did you say? You can't control what you can't control, but you can control what you can control.
Absolutely.
Hey, very good. So then somehow you have this crazy idea. So you went from loving sports to wanting to go to acting, went into acting, and now suddenly you want to write a book.
Yes.
And how many know that's one of the other hardest things to do in this world, right?
Absolutely.
So what made you want to pivot from acting into writing a book?
So I'm going to say that writing has always been a part of me because I've always been a voracious reader. And I think if you read a lot, I think naturally it can have that effect on you as far as writing goes. And it'll sort of just flow, where you don't have to really give it too much thought. And so I've been doing this for years as far as like posting certain writings on social media. So, okay, whenever I felt inspired or whenever I felt called, I just, listening to God, I was like, okay, I need to write this. All right, I need to write that. And I would do that for years. But then the year 2015 came, and I remember one particular night, it was a very intense feeling, a feeling that I definitely never just felt before, telling me to get up to write. And I said, okay, it was in the middle of the night, and I said, oh, all right, I'll go ahead and do it. At first there was resistance, but then I said, all right, let me go ahead and do it, and I got up, I started writing, and that's when I wrote the first page of the book. It was 2015. And I knew it was going to be something, I knew this was going to be something longer, I knew this was going to be something different than just a regular post because of how I ended it. It says, ladies and gentlemen, I cordially invite you to DreamWorld. I said, okay, this sounds like it's the beginning of something, but I'm not ready to write a book. I said, I'm out here in LA, I came out here to focus on acting, and if I go that route at such a young age, I'm not sure if anyone's going to take me seriously. And also, again, I want to mainly be known as an actor, so that was my thought, and I pushed it away. But then, last year, as I spoke to you about, my birthday, January 31st, came along, and then all of a sudden the feeling hit me in a way that it never hit me before. I felt like I was just, I felt like I see my whole life flash before my very eyes. And I was just listening to God, because I could feel him speaking to me. He said, okay, how do you feel about your life right now? Like, or how would you respond if how you're living your life right now, like for the rest of your life, it's going to be a repeat of that? And I said, I wouldn't be okay with that. He said, okay, well, in that case, I'm going to need you to write. Because for all these years, you've only been using one of the gifts I gave you, as far as entertainment. You've only been using that, but you've never used everything I gave you. Acting, speaking, writing. You never did it all. I'm going to need you to use everything you have to be able to attain what I have in store for you. And I said, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to need you every step of the way. You know, I've never written a book before, and you know that I'm very particular. I'm not interested in writing something that's just going to apply to anyone my age. When I write something, I want to be able to touch anyone, regardless of their age. And he said, okay, I'll be here with you. And that's how that happened.
I remember that day. It was his birthday. I remember meeting him right outside. He said, Alexander, he says, it's my birthday today. And I says, what are you going to do on your birthday? And, usually I hear people say, well, I'm going to take my birthday off and I'm going to go spoil myself. Now, Alexander, he says, Pastor David, I don't know if you know this, God's put something new in me. He wouldn't tell me what it was yet. Yeah. He said, I'm not going to tell you what it is. He said, but I'm going to go home and I'm going to work all afternoon. And because what a lot of people don't know, Alexander's working full time. He's working out. He's got to do everything that, being an actor is not easy. You have to be like, you're a professional. I always tell people, actors are professional athletes. They've got to be in perfect condition. Yes. People don't realize that. And I'm doing that, but God's put something new in me. And so I started noticing on his social media posts were coming out. And see, one thing I appreciate about Alexander is that he lives in a different world than I do. I'm a pastor. People expect me to start with a verse. They expect me to say something about the Bible or to challenge them. But Alexander lives in a different world than I do. He lives in he lives in this world, but he's not of it. And the people that he talks to, and so you'll notice through his posts, they're all very motivational. But if you dig a little bit deeper, you eventually get down, you can see what powers you is the Word of God. You're not afraid of it. You don't shy away from it. But he doesn't lead with it. And that's like, and he purposely told me that. It's because, the world that most of us live in, if you live in a business world, you can't always lead with, hey, I'm a Christian, listen to me. You got to lead with your actions. You got to lead with, you got to deposit something in their life before you ask them to do something. And so I appreciate that. So out of the blue here, so finally he came out a few months later, he brought his book out. And in fact, if you'll bring me one of his books, guys, I forgot my book, but what it is we're gonna talk a little bit. Before you leave today, we can't leave today without talking about the elephant in the room. There seems to be a lot of anger and fear in this world right now.
Yes.
Those are those two, never before in my history have I seen those two emotions crash at the same time.
Yes.
Thank you. And Alexander and I talked about this. Where people are fearful of an epidemic, and there's a lot of anger with a lot of racial backgrounds that have happened. And I asked Alexander, how are you handling that as a Christian? And I just wanted you to kind of talk about that for a second.
Absolutely. I think I even want to share a verse as well. I wrote this down. This was definitely on my heart last night.
If we write it down, it's important.
Yeah. So this is 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 17 through 18. For our present troubles are small and won't last very long, yet they produce for us a glory that vastly outweighs them and will last forever. So we don't look at the troubles we can see now, rather we fix our gaze on things that cannot be seen. For the things we see now will soon be gone, but the things we cannot see will last forever. It's a powerful scripture, and it's so timely. It's so timely how I came across that. So what I would say to anyone who's feeling these different emotions, fear, anger, first and foremost, remember that every season is attached with a timer. Every difficulty is attached with a timer. The question you have to ask yourself is where you're going to be after it's over. because it is going to end. It will end. Another thing you have to say to yourself is be mindful of the meaning you're giving these situations. Be mindful of the power you're giving them. Yes, it may be intense. We're not going to shy away from it. We're not going to play around and say that it's fun or it feels good. No, it doesn't feel good. It's difficult. It's challenging. But as I said before earlier, you are in charge of the meaning that you're giving these situations. And if it's a very intense meaning, you're not going to take any action. You're not going to move forward, and that's not going to make you feel any better. You're only going to move forward when you give it an empowering meaning, because then you're believing in yourself again, and most importantly, believe in God again. A lot of people lose faith when things like this happens. It's not the time to lose faith. It's the time to really put all of your energy, every fiber of your being into your faith, and know that this season will not last. You can do this. All of you here, you can do this. And to those of you who are watching at home, you can do this too.
Very good. And so the theme of the book, is to believe in yourself again. A lot of people have lost their confidence.
Yes.
And this whole book's all about you gaining your confidence back. And I love what he told me yesterday. We were just chatting about this on the phone. He says, Pastor, whatever you do, don't lose focus. Don't let all the noise in the world cause us to lose focus. In that moment, that word spoke to me, because how many of you know that, me as a pastor, I've been called to build a church and to gather people together. And what is the whole world telling churches to do? Go home, stay away, don't meet. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's like the whole world is against what the mandate God's gave me.
Yes.
And it was important that word helped me for that moment, because we're just going to stay focused. Wear your mask, be safe, but don't forget what you've been called to do. So I don't know, everyone in this room has been called to do something a little different. You may be a carpenter, you may be a businessman. The truth is, your life hasn't changed. Your focus. And don't let what's happening in the world today cause you to lose focus on your purpose and your plan. Well, I told him I was going to give him one softball question before he left today. I was going to give him some hard questions. I was going to give him a couple soft questions. So every time I look at your Facebook, I get a little bit jealous, because he's always giving these pictures of him in the gym with giant arms. So how hard is it now that you're out of high school, you're working full time, you got 3 things going on, how hard is it for you to stay in shape right now? Because it's important as an actor, right? You have to be perfect almost.
Absolutely. I would say, I'm going to go even deeper. It's important as an actor, but it's important as a man of God. It's important as a man of God. It's important as a woman of God. Body, mind, spirit. Now, we hear that, we've heard it, so many times, often growing up. A lot of us were raised in churches and so on. We've heard it plenty of times. Body, mind, spirit. But then there comes a point in your life when if you just really sit down and really take that in, body, mind, spirit, and you're taking care of the body, mind, spirit, your best self will always show up when you're taking care of the body, mind, spirit. So when people ask me, how do you do this? How have you been in shape for 17 years? It's a must. It's a priority. I think you guys already know that when it comes to must or a should just like, should do that, should do this, should go to the gym, should go here, should apply for a different job because I don't like it. Shoulds never get done. It's like, maybe we're not. But when it's a must, when you make something a must in your life, if it's a diet, I must eat healthy. I must go to the gym. I must do this. I must do that. That's when your life begins to change. That's when things start happening. Because the shoulds are no longer shoulds anymore. They're a must. So is it easy for me to work out? We all got the same amount of time in a day. 24 hours. We all got the same time. The only difference is between you and anyone else, between the next man, between the next woman, whichever situation they're in, is how they are mastering the time. How are they mastering the time? Master the time and master your life. Every single day, I start my day, I don't get out of bed until I listen to a sermon. I've been doing this for years. I don't get out of the bed until I listen to a sermon. Start it off. After that, go to the gym. After the gym, read. After that, eat a healthy breakfast. Drink a healthy protein shake. Get something green in my body. Focus on mainly on alkaline. Anything green has alkaline in it. I know that if I'm putting mainly green in my body, I'm going to have a lot of energy where I might not even need caffeine. Just because I'm paying attention to what I'm eating. I'm better. I'm thinking clearly. I'm more focused. Look at all the benefits that comes from just making simple decisions. Look at all the benefits that come from just being aware of everything that you do. Mastering the time. Life is a numbers game, right? I think you all would agree. Life is a numbers game. And what I mean by that is that everything adds up. Everything. Numbers are important. Blood pressure numbers, those are important. Cholesterol, your weight. Numbers are important in every aspect. Take advantage of the time. Make it a must. Whatever you feel like you need to change in your life, make it a must. So that's how I feel about working out.
Okay, I'm going to the gym tomorrow. Alexander, here's his book, DreamWorld. He's going to be in the back. So a couple things you can do. You can like him on Facebook, right?
Yes.
He can friend him. If he friends you, if you'll friend him, he'll friend you back.
Yes.
And of course, you can buy a book. Please go by and take a couple of moments to talk to him in the back. You know, Alexander's just a neat guy in our church, and it's going to be exciting to see all the places that God takes him.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander. Amen.